So today is my great pleasure to interview Leanne Allison. She is one of the co-creator of Beer 71. Thanks a lot, Leanne, for chatting with me this morning.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure.
Right. So the other day I experienced, truly, it is an experience. I experienced a 20-minute interactive documentary that you co-create. So for viewers that haven't seen this interactive documentary, Bear 71, can you briefly talk about it? Briefly tell them what they.
Yeah, well, like you said, it's 20 minutes long. And when you go on, there are three pieces of video that just automatically play at the beginning, middle, and end. And then otherwise, you're basically left to your own devices to go and create the visual story of Bear
Mm,
71. So she's telling you the story of her life. So you're listening to that, but then you are actually allowed to go and create the visual experience and explore her world. And so every time you go on and experience the Bear 71 story, it could potentially be different.
yeah,
Dif-
exactly. I mean, after watching it the first time and kind of knowing the drift, I thought, okay, well, I'm going to definitely try it again. Uh, because initially, it's interactive documentary is new, right? So what am I supposed to do? But then I think I got the drift that okay, I can browse, go like other than the fixed video, I can go around the different landscape, check out the animals, and then look at the pictures and stuff. And speaking about the pictures, we'll start with the pictures. You guys actually have over a million photos to work with. Is that right?
well, yeah, that's what originally inspired the project is that these motion triggered cameras have been used all around Banff Park, Kananaskis, all around this area for research purposes.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband's a park warden, so I'd always, he'd be gleaming off some of the best, and we have them on our fridge, and I've always found them really fascinating because I think often the pictures we see of nature are in these incredible moments, where there's a fight between animals or, whales breaching or something, and these were really just everyday life. These were
Right. Yeah, it's just a regular lynx or fox walking about doing their business, and
yeah,
unbeknownst to them, when they walk by a motion trigger camera, zoop, here's another picture. Candid
yeah. And I
camera.
think, for me, initially I really didn't know what form. I mean, I knew it should be an online interactive kind of thing because each image is only 56 kilobytes, and there were so many of them that I knew it would never make a documentary film. It was
Yeah,
more to this medium.
you knew you can't really stitch them together and make a fixed documentary. It's not gonna
Yeah, and
fly.
there was just this incredible opportunity to do something really different with it. And, a project that kind of showed me an interesting way of dealing with a massive number of photos was something called The Whale Hunt by Jonathan Harris. And he documented a whale hunt with over 5,000 images. He took a picture every 5 minutes. And then you can go on and experience this whale hunt from any perspective, from the hunters, from the whales. You can go and just look at all the vehicles. It was a really interesting. So that's when the light sort of went on, and I thought,
I
well, we
see.
could do something really different with this. But it took a while to figure out what the story would be. So I spent literally a few months just poring over thousands and thousands of these images and trying to figure out what kind of story we should tell. And for me, what it really showed living here where all the photos are taken
Right.
is this incredible.
Canmore, right? I mean, we have to like you live
Yeah,
in Canmore, and the area we were talking about is Banff, Kananaskis, and the wilderness, right?
yeah, and it's right outside my door. And I realized there was this kind of secret world of animals in a way that was being revealed to me that I was missing because I was sitting in front of my computer. And yet I know that world, and I kind of, in a way it's like I wanted to be there. I wanted to be where they were. So I really tried to hold on to that feeling as we started to create the story. And what we realized looking at some of these images is that we actually knew some of these individual animals, and we
Oh,
knew
really?
in
Like
detail.
through your
There's,
husband, and like
yeah,
like you can actually name them.
yeah, like Bear
Wow.
71. And so, she was a particularly special bear to me because she kind of against all odds in this very, very busy place, which is actually the busiest place in the world where grizzly bears are still managing to survive. So
Right, right.
they have to deal with the highway, the railway, 5 million tourists a year, two
Yeah.
towns.
and we
Plus,
we
all their
got
natural.
we got to see the bears. We got to see Bear 71 when she was 3, right? When she was first tagged and whatnot. Like the video is
Uh-huh.
part of it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, she was basically watched nearly every day of her life, and so you knew
Mm,
how many cubs she had, what happened
right.
to those cubs, all the mates she had. So she not only
Oh,
had to
really?
all
Okay,
these,
so the other hanky panky are all captured.
well, not exactly,
Not
but
exactly. We know she was with other bear and of the
yeah,
male
yeah.
of the opposite sex.
I think what was really kind of important to me was so then yeah, we researched the story of Bear 71. We knew that was going to be it.
Mm,
Still, how do you tell it?
right, right. So
One day it comes.
at this point, I guess I can't avoid the spoilers. So spoiler alert: if you want to really experience it without knowing the ending, well, cover your ear maybe for the next 3 5 minutes. I don't know, but
Yeah,
it talked about the life, the 11, like yeah, from 3 to 14, and unfortunately, Bear 71 came to her demise, and and that was very sad. Like I really, I mean, I kind of knew that was what was coming because as you watch the documentary, you kind of get the drift. I kind of got the sense that, but
something bad was going to
yeah,
happen.
something bad is going to happen, and I think so. So in that sense, it's not too much of a spoiler. But so before I forget, we know how Bear 71 came to a demise. It's through eating grains on the track. And I guess for people who care about bears or care about the nature and whatnot, the natural tendency is, well, should we fix it? But is it as simple as fixing, getting the train transports to fix the grain handling and whatnot so it doesn't leak grains and kind of like a death trap for them? Or is it a bigger solution need to be have and that is just like train the grain is just a part of it?
Well, I guess the answer is yes and no. I think the railway line is basically owned by a corporation, right? They're owned by
Right.
Canada Pacific, so it's really up to them how they deal with the issues of grain spill, the issues of hitting bears, and so on. And I think they have actually put $1 million towards doing research to figure out how to prevent grizzly bear deaths. And
Oh.
it is kind of tricky because you can't necessarily just fence the entire rail line because then that creates more barriers for bears.
Mm,
Um,
right, because then if there's food, I mean, it's still good to try to climb over. Is that the thing?
yeah, or they could potentially get trapped
Oh.
inside the rail, which would be terrible, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
then the issue of the grain cars is, yeah, again, they definitely should be taking responsibility and fixing them, and they are starting to, but there are so many grain cars. There's over 30,000 grain cars, and they're all spread
Oh.
out between here and Mexico. So it is a
Oh.
pretty huge problem. But one thing CP could be doing, in my mind, immediately is slowing down the trains through the
Oh.
park. And
Mm.
they aren't. And
They
they've
aren't. So
so
so there are specific short distance where if they really can
slowed
do the
down.
most is just slow down
And there's
and in terms of impact, it wouldn't impact the schedule by too much. Is that am I getting that?
that's why they don't do it is because of their schedule. But there's a very specific time in the spring, and that's exactly when Bear 71 was killed.
Oh.
Bears are on the tracks a lot.
Mm.
So for a couple month period, if they could just really slow down, it would make a huge difference.
Right. So in terms, if we look at put our business hat on, so it's just really those few months and those short distance that they need to slow down. But
Yeah,
otherwise,
it's not that, I shouldn't paint it as that simple, but it would help, right? It'd be one of those things that would really help because there were a couple bears killed this fall. Because what happens sometimes is an elk, say, will get hit on the train, and then that
oh,
attracts the bears to the train tracks. And I don't know about you, but I've been around trains where, even as a human who understands what trains are and understands the danger,
right, right,
you can be surprised. The wind's going the wrong way, and suddenly there's a train on you like that, and
right,
that's often
right. So
how
can you talk about how do you come to work with Jam 3? Jam 3 is the people. They are the team that
right.
create the digital stuff, right?
Yeah, that's right. So I took the idea to the National Film Board, and then my background is documentary film, so I paired up with Jeremy Mendez to kind of figure out how to translate this whole thing into this new form of interactive documentary. And as with anything, I think the most important, no matter what the form or anything, the most important thing is what you have to say in your story, right?
Right.
So that was initially what we really focused on was the story, and then through a lot of hard work and a lot of talented people. I mean, Jam3 had done a number of projects with the NFB, so I think they took on this one. And it was pretty complicated. I don't know if you figured out the little kind of Easter egg in the project where if you click on yourself as you're interacting, this grid comes up, and anyone else in the world who happens to be looking at Bear 71 with their webcam on, you'll see them.
Yeah. I think I came into this Easter egg because, which leads great to my question. The interactive documentary actually asked to use your camera, ask your permission, and being me, I say no. But then I realized, hey, wait a minute, there's another human, and that's a lady or a guy or whatever watching, and I then realized, okay. So to reflect on what you were just saying, as we click on our own image, we get to see all the other people, and kind of that is in a sense, to simulate or put ourselves into the bear environment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right, exactly. And that feeling of being watched, and also just how much we allow technology to be this lens through which we see everything now.
Or kind of also putting us thinking about impacting the bear or the wildlife. I remember some of the scenes or short clips that show people walking by with their float or with their lifesavers and whatnot, and having fun and whatnot. But then it's the exact same place or trail or location. I think in that case it was under a highway or bridge or something.
Yeah,
the bear that went by. So yeah, we've got to think of. Really put ourselves think of our own impact on the wildlife, right?
Yeah, I mean, in a city environment, think of how many times our photos are taken without us even knowing it. And I think that's one of the big things that Bear 71 brings up, is just how much we've just willingly allowed so much technology to kind of come into our world. And it's not all bad. Like, obviously, there's a lot of amazing things we've learned through the research, and these cameras are actually a fairly non-invasive way to study animals, following them and so on.
Right. So, how many trail cams are there? Like fixed camera, and then video cameras? Are they the same thing that does both job, or what's the numbers?
No, generally they're different, and they're just really this collection of images has come from a fairly random bunch of different research projects, and the Parks Canada and in the park in Kananaskis, they don't just put them out for no reason. So they're always there to either, they're trying to figure out how many grizzly bear families there are in the park, or trying to figure out who and what's using certain trails. But I guess I just realized there's this potential to use it kind of in an artistic way. And to tell this different story.
Yeah, it's truly seeing the various pictures, image, and presumably it's all pinned on the exact location where the cameras and stuff are. It's kind of really pull us in and involve us. I've seen many other people, like some of the judges. By the way, I mean, congratulations on winning the best, the BWA, that best in the year award. Like, it's 365 competitors, and then 12 monthly one, and then you guys won the yearly one with the big.
No, it's pretty amazing news. I mean, honestly, that digital world is not necessarily my world, so I think I'm really happy for Jam3. I'm happy for all the amazing folks at the NFB, because I think for them it's a career first. It's a huge coup to have that kind of recognition from their peers. And I think it's great the NFB has kind of been out front in developing these stories, because there's really not economic model necessarily, right, for how you generate revenue if you're going to be telling, especially documentary type stories. So I think we're really lucky in Canada to have the opportunity to to actually experiment with some of these things.
Right, right. And bonus footage or hidden like footage that you can't use. Now, are there things that you wanted but couldn't include in because of size or thing limitation, or because this is interactive, you can pretty much throw in any images or any short clips that you want to, and it's there.
Yeah, no, that's true. More so than a film, for sure. There's little hidden gems that you could go on the site 60 times and still not see. But for me, what was interesting is all along there had been certain images that inspired certain parts of the story. And so, again, as a filmmaker, I always just assumed that people would be seeing those images. So, for example, the rub tree section where Bear 71 comes to a rub tree and she talks about all the other animals that use that tree for communication. It's almost like a tree.
Oh, I haven't been to that tree. I need to find that tree.
Yeah, so this is for me, it was a really important part of the story, and I had to give up that control of the viewer seeing the amazing images of bears and other animals coming to these rub trees. So actually,
explain that a little bit again, because I think the next time I play with it, I definitely would try to find that tree. Where is that? Like,
what it's symbolized as is there's a bunch of red lines kind of swirling around this one spot, and it kind of is supposed to symbolize how so many animals are coming to that.
Oh, okay. All right. Now I've got the tips from the creator. I'm definitely going to try.
These trees are really fascinating. I mean, they have information from the last hour and maybe even the last century, of animals constantly rubbing up against them.
Sometimes rub tree. Oh, so the animals actually rub on them. Like, I finally get it.
Yeah. And there's one trail in Banff where you'll pass 40 rub trees, and most people never even notice them. And yet for the animals, they're these crucial signposts for communication.
Right.
And if you were to map them, they would look like the cell phone tower network. So it's this, for me, it really represented the kind of, that kind of knowledge that we're losing because we're so beholden to technology. I think at one time as humans, we would have checked out those trees. And, speaking of our Being Caribou trip, when we came back into the forest after being on the tundra, came across our first rub tree, and it might as well have been in neon. It was so obvious, and it was so clear to us that there'd been so much activity there. Yet now, hikers will often miss them.
So it's because they worn off, and because of the hair sample that is on the tree and the smell. Like, is that the combination? I see.
Yeah, and there were cameras set up at all these rub trees.
Oh, right. Obviously, of course.
To figure out, they saw that lynx were coming in and urinating, cougars were scratching, bears were rubbing, elk were coming to smell and then not leaving any marks. They're obviously the prey,
yeah,
right?
They don't want to be eaten too soon. Like, not a good idea. I'm here. Like, whoa, yum.
So to circle back to your original question about whether there was content that I had to give up, there wasn't content, but there was this control that I had to be willing to give up so that the viewer could have this unique experience of finding the images themselves.
Right.
I had to give up the fact that they're going to, like you, missed.
Yeah, I missed it twice. I mean, I checked out the second time, but second time mostly just like let the mouse wander around and let play through the sound. I want to listen to the audio and watch the clip again. But you're absolutely right. I totally missed it. And if you hadn't pointed out, I wouldn't pick it up. But in a sense, it is for a creator. I mean, for a documentary filmmaker, director, that is a huge control. Like, that's so cool, and you really want us to know. But then, if it is up to our device, I missed it the first time. I kind of like wasn't really paying attention the second, except the video clips and the audio. So yeah.
Yeah, so I guess I'll just tell you about one experience I've had with the sort of launch of Bear 71 and bringing it out to the world. This fall, it seemed like the perfect way to bring Bear 71 back home. We actually did a live performance of Bear 71 at the Banff Mountain Film Festival. Oh. So Jeremy was on stage in the biggest theater at the Banff Center, and he also was accompanied by a cellist, and it's a 60-foot screen, a huge screen. And he basically did the interactivity for the audience while they...
Really?
So he brought up all the images that we'd kind of curated for the story all at the
Wow.
right times. And it was so satisfying for me. And it was like watching a film being edited live before.
Yeah.
It really was so great. And
Mm.
I've been thinking we almost have to record that so that
Yeah, right. So the question is, did you record that?
stuff that that you're kind of meant to see. Because I think for some people, like in an older generation, say,
Mm.
I have a friend who watched it and he was in tears by the end. And the funny thing was, he never even touched his mouse. He didn't
Mm.
realize he was supposed to. So I think
Oh, really?
there's this whole range of how you can potentially experience it.
Hmm. Yeah, totally. So I guess this is an unfair question, but if you would you actually did what your husband did, or what you can do? You drive through the experience and then capture that, and then present that. Would you actually do that? Because that's kind of against the interactivity, right? Would you?
Yeah, no, I don't think that we wouldn't necessarily. I guess what I would want to do maybe is to just capture that feeling of sharing it with an audience, even though it was
Mm.
never intended that way. It
Yeah.
was really like I guess there's a part of me that finds all this stuff a little bit lonely, right?
A
There
little
you are,
bit. Sorry.
lonely. Like there you are by
Mm.
yourself,
Yeah.
in front of your computer, and you feel this sadness or whatever, and what do you do with it? There's nowhere to put it. Whereas if you're in an audience of people,
Mm.
at least you can like talk to the person next to you, and you can
Yeah.
say, what did you feel? And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's
Well,
yes,
maybe there's still. I guess nothing is final in terms of digital stuff. But if the viewers can chat with each other online, at least during the time that they were watching the thing, or yeah, communicate somehow, that may be like even putting the feeling on the side. Yeah, the easiest way maybe just let them type the comment on the side, and let people kind of read each other's message. I don't know. I mean, yeah, but
yes,
that's yeah. That if you are talking about letting the viewers kind of feel the experience, share experience
uh,
together. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, this is it's my pleasure to watch the film. I kind of didn't have that much expectation. Well, I know it won the award, but I didn't know what I went into the first time around. And as I said, the second time around, I was just goofing around. But the third time that I'm going to watch it again, I'm definitely going to like go to check out the rub tree and go check out a few more places. And I think this is the interactive documentary that you could create. It's definitely something that we can go back again and again. It's kind of like an interactive game in a sense, right? Not just documentary. Would you
yeah,
sort of agree?
yeah. I think it. And there's this opportunity to linger after it's done and just wander
Mm,
around and listen
right.
to music and look at the images and try and explore and find
Yeah.
everything, which is great.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
I,
there's one. This film is getting really well recognized and exposed within the digital realm, but I
mm,
think there's still a lot of work to be done to get it more into the mainstream. Like I would love to see it
mm.
in high schools, and it
Ah.
brings up so many interesting
Right. Right.
ideas for people to consider, not only the technology, but this conflict we have between wildlife and humans. And
Yeah.
so I think
Spreading the word to the teachers, to the different school, and you and the NFB use interactive documentary. I actually call it first person documentary. We know we have first person shooters game and killing and whatnot, and that put the gamers in the mindset of killing others. But I think your documentary, I call it the first person documentary, where we put ourselves in the space of, well, in the mindset of Bear 71, in the nature, and then hopefully we gain something positive out of it instead of just shooting, killing.
yeah, well, that totally warms my heart, Kempton, to hear you
Yeah,
say that, because that's exactly what I wanted.
yeah,
And I think
yeah,
that's kind of been a theme
yeah.
throughout the work my husband and I have done, is to just sort of
Mm,
take us out of the human-centric world and kind of transport people into that
yeah,
animal is just so endlessly fascinating.
Yeah, and you and your husband has done such a great work. And looking at the background, it's Being Caribou. It's another documentary that I love to pieces. And the first time I watched it, I told you before we started recording, I actually had tears in my eyes as the story unfolds. It's like, oh man, we doing this to the caribous and some I guess I live in Calgary and I'm cognizant of the large oil and gas company and some of my friends rely on work in the industry, but at the same time, like, are we so blind, can we be so blind to not care about caribous, bears and other wildlife? Are we so money centric and money is everything, and the others, if you can't convert it to money, it's yeah, you don't need to care about it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think there's a real shift going on. I think there is a consciousness changing around some of these ideas, and again, that's why I hope to get this into schools, because I think a lot of younger people aren't putting up with these kind of dinosaur ways of doing things that we all know are leading us down this road to destruction. So.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm putting you on the spot, but yesterday I did have a chance to talk to Daryl Hannah, hanging out with her. She's a big opponent of the Excel Keystone Pipeline and whatnot. So I don't know if in terms of your environmental background, what's your take? Is it going to impact the wildlife?
Well, the Keystone one I'm not as up on, but certainly the Northern Gateway Pipeline, I'm absolutely against that. I mean, that is just throwing, to be investing in all this infrastructure to basically perpetuate the system that we already have, that we know is ruining the planet. It's just crazy to me. I mean, there's so many reasons not to be doing that. So, I definitely... Again, I think there's this awakening happening that people are realizing that we can't continue down this road.
Right, yeah. I hope more people will watch Beer 71. I definitely will spread it to my friends who are teachers. I mean, at least let them spread the word and experience themselves. And yeah, I was deeply touched. So I want to thank you very much, Leanne, for chatting with me this morning.
Thanks a lot, Kempton. Good luck.
Thanks.